Good evening. Thank you for attending the Public Works hearing this evening. My name is Dadisi Najib. I'm the hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works, and Cerise Waters is our clerk for this evening. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterward through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there's no sign-in sheet, but if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice, which I believe in this case is urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. If you would like to be on our contact list, please type and send your email address in the chat or send an email to urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. This public hearing is being held to consider three items. Hearing order 208861 to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 1335 Laguna Street. Staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. The next item would be hearing order number 208862 to consider the removal of 3 street trees with replacement with 2 street trees adjacent to 585 Vermont Street. The third required replacement site will be added to the deferred replacement report if replacement location is not planted within 120 days. Staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. And the last item is hearing order 208863 to consider the removal of one street tree without replacement and removal of one significant tree with replacement at 279 Randall Street, permit number 7936165. And staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. So under Public Works jurisdiction, we intend to go through the items in order as they're being shared. And my job as the hearing officer today is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our Director of Public Works make determinations. I will not be making any decisions today. Rather, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to our director. And the director will make the final determination. Once the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided your contact information. And the hearing will proceed as follows. I will ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. Then the property owner or appellant or applicant will be allowed to speak. And then any member of the public or witness who wants to speak on that item. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. To speak, the clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you are a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you're a member of the public or witness who wants to speak, wait for me to call for public comments, then use the Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're not on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. And if you're dialing in on your phone, you're going to dial *9 to indicate that you're raising your hand. When it's your turn to speak, I will recognize you. If you're on your phone and you're muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. Then you'll have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments once you're all set up. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or the applicant. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. And if I feel a question is warranted, I'll ask the question. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. We will now begin the hearing. Hearing order 208861. Is Public Works staff ready?
Excuse me, Ms. Najib, the hearing item number 2 will be first for if there are any comments that regarding anything that is not on the agenda today.
Thank you. Thank you. I do see that there. I think we switched that up a little bit. Okay, are there any members of the public comment that may want to address? our staff here and myself?
I
Does
do
anyone
not
want to call?
see, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay, I don't see any either.
Okay.
Okay, so is it safe to close
Yes.
item 2? Okay,
Yes.
we're closing item 2, public comment. So then we're on item 3, hearing order number 208861, to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 1335 Laguna Street. Public Works?
Yeah, so I don't see the PowerPoint up, Cerise. Should I share my screen with the PowerPoint? How do we want to do that?
Yes, if you can share your screen and have it ready, go ahead. If not, I can pull it up.
Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up right now.
Sure, sure.
All right, so thanks for coming, everybody. We apologize for the technical difficulties, which have caused a little bit of a delay, but we'll keep it moving here. So I got a little bit of a lag, so bear with me. So Bureau of Urban Forestry is within the Department of Public Works. It's our responsibility to manage all of the trees within the public right of way. Those are the trees that are in the sidewalks and in the medians. We also have trees on public works parcels, but for the most part, those are not within the public right of way. So the mission of Bureau of Urban Forestry is to preserve and grow our urban forest while also balancing safety above all else, and also the other needs of our growing and ever-changing city. So we have our tree maintenance program. It's called Street Tree SF. And we manage all the trees on a block maintenance cycle. And our goal is to keep a 3 to 5 year cycle. So we prune, remove,
Recording in progress.
and do maintenance on the trees following our Street Tree SF program. So our trees are managed and excuse me, sorry. Our trees are codified in Article 16 in the Public Works Code. So that's how we follow removal procedures and things like that. And most of the time, if somebody who's not within the Department of Public Works, such as a private property owner or a developer, if they want to remove a tree, they need to get a permit. So we follow our permit procedure, which is outlined in Article 16. The code had an update in February 2022. So these are the updates here. If a tree cannot be planted in the exact same location, it needs to be tracked on a delayed replacement tree report. That's one new change. If a property owner or applicant is granted a removal permit for removal of a healthy tree, then the department shall require a replacement tree of equivalent value. And if that's not possible, then a combination of planting or an in lieu fee and in lieu fee. So if we have questions on that, we can discuss that offline. So we take into a lot of different things when considering a tree for removal. There's major criteria that will pretty much get you a automatic approval, such as if the tree is dead. If the tree is in severe decline and is posing a hazard, then that's a automatic approval. Also, we can approve trees for reasons such as being a poor individual for that site. Trees can change over time and end up becoming barring access from the sidewalk or damaging property, things like that. So those will also be trees that are approved for removal. But we take the condition of the tree above all else. So if it's a good, healthy tree and it can't be worked around, we might not approve it. If it can be worked around, then it's definitely going to be denied. So that's pretty much how we decide whether a tree is going to be approved or not. So the first order we come to is this 274 Main Street. We consider the removal of 2 street trees with replacement adjacent to the 274 Main Street property. The permit address is actually 250 Main Street. So this is part of the Transplay Block 3 renovation. These are the
Thanks.
trees.
I'm sorry, am I looking at the wrong one?
No, I apologize. I must have the wrong hearing open. So I apologize. Bear
That's
with me
okay.
here.
That's okay. Take your time.
I don't know why.
It's okay. I can open it up for you. I had gotten booted out for some reason. I mean, I got booted out with my being share capabilities, but now I have them back and I can pull it up if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great, Cerise, because I'm having a hard time finding where I saved it in all of these. If you have it easily accessible, it's because I'm on my remote computer too. So
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see the presentation?
we're on the other page.
Okay, I'm sorry. Tell me but you can see.
Yeah, we could see your Outlook page.
Okay, which page are you at? Where are you at? Which page should we be at?
We should be on the first order.
That was it. Is it showing 1335 Laguna Street?
Yes. Okay, we see it now. Thank you. So the first issue we're hearing here is the removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 1335 Laguna Street. The Buff staff has approved the removal of this tree based on its condition. So the tree asset ID is here. You can see that, and you can go ahead to the next slide, Cerise. Thank you. This is a Corymbia ficofolia, a red flowering gum. It's in very poor condition. It's a critical condition. There is significant cambium death. This has caused the tree to decline severely. We have a lot of leaf loss and branch death. And the tree has a moderate lean over the street. It's been in decline for a while, and it's definitely reached a point where it's becoming hazardous and can be considered hazardous. The tree was, it needs to be noted that the tree was previously discussed during Board of Appeals. But this tree was not actually included in that permit issue heard at that Board of Appeals. So it was posted by Bureau of Urban Forestry, and we are following the removal process for that posting. And you can go down a little bit more, Cerise. Thank you. And the likelihood of root decline and decay is high, and that indicates that it is more likely going to fall over completely. So because of that, we've posted the tree for removal. And the next slides here show images of the tree condition. And you can see that there's major canopy death, and there's cracking on the main trunk, causing the bark to slough away. So this tree's not going to be coming back. And you can see in that photo, there's a significant cracking and and bark sloughing off of that portion of that main stem there.
That's the end of that order for the slides.
Okay. Thank you, our buff representative. I know that we had written public comment. I did have a chance to read that from the gentleman this afternoon. Is there anyone else here on the call? Have you've concluded your presentation for this order number?
Correct. Yes.
Public Works? Okay.
Yeah. There's not much more to be said about that tree.
Yeah. I don't have any questions at this time. I've taken notes. Do you know what type of tree they're going to replace it with? Or what type of tree is recommended to replace it with?
I have not
Offhand.
looked. I have not looked into that. I'm sure the arborist who's working on this tree case has that lined up, but it wasn't included in my notes, so I apologize.
Okay, that's all right. No problem. Thank you. Is there anyone, someone has their hand up? Lance Carnes? That looks like there's someone that has their hand up.
Yes, I sent him a message to
Okay.
unmute already.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
So on the first slide that Mr. Hoffman showed, that the tree was listed as 1355, number 2, and the order says 1335 Laguna, number 2. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same tree, because both trees are listed in the database.
Thank you. Our gentleman from Buff, can you respond to that?
Yeah, so the tree,
like-
I'm showing the slide here, and it's also referencing our street tree, interactive street tree map. The tree asset ID is 140341.
So it's listed at 1355, but it's actually 1335. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when you're walking on the street, if you're walking down the Laguna sidewalk and you look at the tree, the address that you're gonna see first is gonna be the 1335 address.
Mm-hmm.
So when we posted the tree, that's the address that we used. The tree is documented in our database as being 1355 Laguna Street,
Okay,
and its asset ID is 140341.
okay. Thank you. Sir, did that answer your question?
Well, it answered it sort of. I've been watching Mr. Buck flip 1355 and 1335 around for all during the St. Francis Square hearing. And I was sort of dismayed to see that it pops back up again. 1355 Laguna Street is clear up at the top near Galilee Lane. And 1335 Laguna Street, number 2, is halfway down the block of Laguna Street. So, and there's some note in Mr. Buck's brief that those are the same tree, although they're 100 feet apart. I don't know, Mr. Hoffman, you've studied trees. Is it possible for 2 trees to be the same and 100 feet apart? I'm not joking with you. That's
Yeah, that
actually
would be
how
two
it looks.
separate, that would be 2 separate trees, but you know, if you go to the site and you see the posting on the tree, then it's that tree.
It's the tree with the posting on it. Okay.
The-
Which on my database shows as I use latitude longitude points. That tree is 1335, number 1 actually.
So
Yeah.
the tree number 1 that you're referencing is not the tree that we're discussing right now.
Well, no, but it is the tree you're discussing right now.
No,
It's just
well, it's not
It-
the tree that you're referencing. I don't know what database you're looking at or whatever, but I have it shown here. You can look at our interactive street tree map. It's highlighted. I just took a screenshot. That's the tree we're talking about.
okay.
Okay, so to be clear, Mr. Lance, it is the tree asset with the ID 140341 that we're talking about. I don't want to eat into your time, so do you want to go ahead and complete your comments?
Yes, I object to the tree identification in both cases actually.
Okay,
And I'm using the database that I received under a public records request from DPW. So it should be
okay,
the same as yours.
okay, so you object to the tree identification.
Yes.
And, okay, was your question answered satisfactorily this evening
Well, I guess it was
by Mr.
answered.
Hoffman? Okay. Are your comments concluded on this item? I think you still have some time.
Are you talking to me?
20
Yes,
seconds
please.
left.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I've walked this patch of Laguna Street many times and looked at the trees, and you know, I know which one's which from the latitude longitude points, which apparently DPW does not use.
That's the time is up.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lance, for your comments.
Mr. Carnes, yeah. Okay.
Carnes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Are there any other members of the public present who wish to comment on this item? Public Works, did you have anything else you wanted to address for this item? Mr. Hoffman?
No, there's no other additional notes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, I'm gonna close out hearing order 208-861 for the replacement adjacent to 1335 Laguna Street. Next up is hearing order number 208-862 to consider the removal of 3 street trees with replacement with 2 street trees adjacent to 587 Vermont Street. Mr. Hoffman, are you ready for your presentation? Public Works?
Yep, yes. So on the slide here, you'll see that we have 3 street trees with replacement with 2 street trees. The third required replacement, will be added to our deferred replacement report. And if a replacement location, if a replacement location is not planted within 120 days.
Okay. So 2 are gonna be replanted kind of immediately, and then the third within 120 days.
Yes, and if it's not planted within that time frame, then we will add it to our deferred replacement report.
Okay.
So this location, we're considering 3 trees. The first tree is site number 1, tree ID 59653. It's a ficus tree. The DBH is 26 inches. This tree has significant decay in the heartwood. The wood is crumbling and or spongy, and there's included bark on 3 or more of the stems. So with all of those factors combined, this tree is really high risk for splitting apart. There is wood decay, and that indicates that it's more likely that it will split apart. This tree has been previously topped. You could see it's in really close proximity to some overhead lines.
Mhm.
And topping of the tree has contributed it to its poor structure. And this tree has had multiple failures in the past, so it's really likely, very high likelihood that it will fail again, probably during a big storm. Because of that, we have approved the removal of this tree. Here's another image of tree number 1. You can see the decay in the heartwood there, and you could see the very poor branch attachment and stem attachment. And we have a poor structure as well. So it's tree number 2, same species. This is tree asset 189654, another ficus tree. This one's a little bit larger, 28 inches. Poor condition, mainly because of the structure and the condition of the wood. Again, we have significant decay in the heartwood, crumbling and spongy. It's very similar to the previous tree, topped in the past, multiple failures previously. So again, this is a high risk for future failure, and it has been approved for removal. And you can see here we have, again, large decay cavities. These cavities, they sit out there in the elements. They get water in them, bugs and trash and pests. That's exposing the inner wood, the living tissues of the tree. It's like an open wound.
Mhm.
And years of this condition pretty much caused the tree to gain so many issues that it's just not a question that it will fail, because the wood there is like such poor condition and really bad structure from poor pruning practices in the past. So this is the third tree. We have tree number 4, asset ID 189656. Again, like all these trees, they were planted at the same time. They were managed similarly throughout their entire lives. We have poor structure, cantilevered limbs that are much highly increased likelihood of failure because they're just poor structure, and wood decay. So all of that is indicating that this tree has a higher likelihood of falling over. In a big storm, it's really likely it could happen. This tree is also damaging the sidewalk. So because of all that, we're approving the removal. And you could see this is a large wound from a previous failure. There was a stem there and it's gone. It broke off at some point in the past. And there's other indicators that this tree has likely root decay, which also increases the probability it's going to fail. So again, approved for removal. And that's the end of my presentation for those 3 trees.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment on this item? Mr. Carr?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, very good. I'm actually the owner of the adjacent building, the 587 to 591 Vermont Street. And I've owned the building since 1986. And the trees, I think, were planted before I purchased it. They were much, much lower in 1986. And I really do feel that they need to be removed. They are structurally unsound. The northernmost one lost a branch back in 2019 that brought down a power line and caused all the voltage in half of the circuits along the block to raise up to twice their normal voltage to 220, which I lost a refrigerator, a furnace, and a washer dryer. It was over like $50,000 to $100,000 worth of damage up and down the block. Unfortunately, there weren't any fires. A bunch of power strips smoked, but luckily there was no fire caused by that damage. So I agree that the trees do need to be removed. They are a safety hazard. The only question I have is there are 4 trees along that area. And so the one tree that's not for removal is the one that ends in 55. It's 189655. And it is also way too high for the power lines. So I guess my question was why that one.
You broke up on the last part. You said your question was what? Uh-oh. Mr. Hoffman, were you able to hear him? Can you answer the question
I didn't actually
about
catch
the 4th tree?
Yeah, I didn't catch his question, but I'm aware of the 4th tree. The
Okay.
the arborist who is working this tree issue informed me that they did a thorough inspection of the 4th tree, and
Mhm.
it was found that it is structurally sound.
Okay.
Its condition is much better than the other 3, and
Mhm.
at this time, removal is not warranted for that tree.
Okay.
I'm assuming he also wants to know when the next prunings for that tree is considered, and I would urge him to keep working with the arborist, the staff arborist he has been,
Okay.
and if he doesn't have their contact, he can send us an email and we'll get in touch with them and let them know. I haven't personally seen the tree, so I can't speak to the need for its pruning. But the inspecting arborist will definitely know when, or kind of have a better idea of, where we're headed with that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Carr, right? I'm sorry. Were you finished with your comments? Are you still on the call? Our clerk, Miss Waters, was his time up?
No,
his
he
hand
still
is up.
has, yeah, I
Okay.
have him available to speak. I'm not sure why we can't
Okay.
hear him. He does have 1 minute and 24 seconds left.
Okay.
Let me see if he can. Yeah, I asked him to unmute, but I'm not sure why we cannot hear him.
Okay, I still see his hand raised.
Right, right.
Um,
And if you're able to, Mr. Carr, you are also welcome to use the chat. We are able to read
mhm,
the chat, and I may be able to
Right.
answer your question that way.
Right.
okay, he says he thinks
Because I
he's
think I'm
okay.
okay. Okay.
So thank you so much, Mr. Carr, for your comments. Well noted that you're the owner at 587 through 591 and that you support the removal of the trees due to safety hazards. So thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Protest or support? Okay, if there's no one else, I am going to close out hearing order number 208862. Next up and last, hearing order number 208863 to consider the removal of one street tree without replacement and removal of one significant tree with replacement at 279 Randall Street. Permit number 793-165. Staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. And I'd like to ask our Public Works representative from Buff, Mr. Hoffman, are you ready for your presentation?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
All right.
So, the first tree we have here is kind of a tree. It's a Chinese juniper. Some would consider this a topiary shrub. This is a tree ID 234831. It's got an 11-inch DBH. It's 2 stems, actually. It's not a single stem. It has fair condition. There's no indications of pathogens such as a fungus, and there's no pests present. The tree has some issue with the tips, maybe possibly from wind stress, maybe from drought stress. This is not an ideal street tree species. It's not likely going to grow any larger than this, and it will continue to expand outward, so it's going to get wider. It will be a management issue for the sidewalk as it grows, and it's just not the best tree for this site. So the project here is a building project. So they have to lose the site because their building is going to be kind of using that space. They're planning on building a garage, and that's where the driveway is planned. So this is a street tree site. We recognize we're losing a street tree site. The applicants will be paying an in lieu of planting fee for that site. So they won't be replacing the street tree. They are going to be planting a new tree on private property. I just want to note it because they're paying for the loss of the site, and they are also installing a separate tree at a different location adjacent to the property. So that will be a new significant tree in the future. The second tree that we're considering is a significant tree. The significant tree is located on the private property. The tree is past the property line, and it's within 10 feet of the public right of way. So we consider it a significant tree. This tree is documented in our database as 271618. It's a Japanese maple. It's in fair to good condition. It's been topped in the past for the window, but they've allowed it to regrow. The structure's okay. There is some slight stress, maybe from being planted in the raised bed or possibly from previous pruning stress, but it's not significant and it doesn't really reduce the value of the tree. So again, this tree is going to be where the driveway is, and the tree was appraised, and the replacement for this tree will need to be a 36-inch box to meet the value that this tree currently has. So the replacement plan is to plant kind of in the area where the agapanthus are in this image that you see to the right. They will be attempting to transplant this actual tree to that space. But if that fails, then they will be installing a new 36-inch box tree. It's been recommended that they just do a new 36-inch box tree, but they, they can, that's their plan. But that will be a new significant tree once established. So both of these trees have been approved on those contingencies. And that will be the end of this presentation. I just want to test. Am I still connected here?
Yes, you are. Ms. Najib, are you here? Are you able to hear us? You are muted.
Oh, yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry. I was just talking. Um, so I'm sorry. Simon Yip has his hand raised. I believe he's comments from the public. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, for your presentation. Mr. Yip, can you unmute yourself? You have the floor.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Cerise, could I have the first slide, please?
Yes, give me just a moment. I'm trying to load it up.
Thank you.
We've been having some issues tonight. I do apologize for the delays. Just a moment. Okay, I have the item here, but as I try to save it, it does not show like it should, as it should. Hold on. I cannot get it to.
We can try and work with that if that's okay.
Okay, can you see what I have so far? Are you?
Yeah,
Okay,
no problem.
but I can't get it to show the full page for some reason. That doesn't really help with. I don't know why the side of the page is cut off, but maybe can you work with this just
Yeah,
to talk?
it's
I
not a
did
problem.
forward it to the, I forwarded it to the hearing officer, so she does have the exact presentation. Okay, go
No
ahead.
problem. We'll make it work.
Okay.
Yep. So good evening, all. My name is
Good evening.
Simon Yip, and I represent SF Permitting and the client in this hearing. So before you, we're here to discuss the removal of one significant tree on private property with the replacement, and the removal of one Tilbury shrub in the public right of way with the replacement on private property. Urban Forestry staff have approved the removal, and there was a public protest during the required posting period. Next slide, please, Cerise. Thank you. So to the left of the picture, we have this significant tree on the private property that will be replaced in value. Like I said, like Mr. Hoffman said, there was an initial discussion to save the tree and possibly replant. That is the kind of intended way forward, but if it fails, we will replace the tree in value. And then to the right, we have the Tilbury shrub in the public rights of way that will be replaced on private property. Next slide, please. So the removal of this significant tree and the Tilbury shrub is for the new construction of an electric vehicle garage and bike storage to help lessen the carbon footprint. And as you'll see from the proposed site plan and the picture to the right, there is an existing olive tree which actually arches over the sidewalk. And there will be, and there is additional landscaping in the public right of way. In addition, you will also see the proposed locations of the new minimum 36-inch box tree and the new tree to the right. Due to the loss of plant site, my client will be paying an in-lieu fee of $2,431. One thing that I do want to note here is that the neighbor to the left of my clients at 277 Randall, they have a tree which borders the property line, and that does provide some canopy coverage. Next slide, please, Cerise. So as you'll see here from the proposed elevation, this is what we intend for the project to eventually look like. So again, selected trees to be planted on private property to promote canopy coverage. The client has yet to decide which trees are to be planted, but Mr. Hoffman has suggested a redbud, another Japanese maple, or a bloodgood.
30 seconds remaining.
Yep. So again, there's going to be irrigation and maintenance as required to promote longevity. Definitely adequate room for trees to thrive. But just to summarize where we're at, the pattern of design, the compatibility of having a garage whilst having a healthy and canopy street is a reality. There is no decrease in canopy coverage with the scope of work. And again, in total, there'll be three trees in total, as well as street and private landscaping. And last slide is just to thank the Urban Forestry staff and for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yip. Okay, are there any other members from the public who wish to comment on this item for 279 Randall? Okay, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and thank everyone who participated this evening with your comments on our items. If there are any more, before I close out tonight's hearing, if to catch anyone who may have arrived late, are there any public comments on any of the items on the agenda? If you have spoken already, you will not be allowed to speak again. So this is for those who may have come in late or didn't get a chance to speak. If there are no more public comments, I am closing this hearing. This hearing is now closed.